Hello everyone, welcome to another Fallout 76 guide, and today it's time to check out the best locations to farm legendary bosses in the Savage Divide. Hello everyone, welcome back, and finally I managed to finish this farming guide. Now, I have been working on this for quite some time now, but I have done similar guides about how to farm legendary bosses in the Mire and the Cranberry Bog, as well as in the Watauga regions. Feel free to check them out, by the way, if you haven't yet. They are quite useful to farm legendaries. So I thought it was time to make one about the Savage Divide, which is like the most common region where people farm legendaries, but I went a little bit out the route and I came up with some locations that are really not popular, and they also provide a decent amount of legendaries. But let's get straight to the point. At the Sunnytop Ski Lanes there are a lot of mutants normally, and this has become one of my favorite places lately because you can easily find one legendary here and it's a decent amount of experience. Plus, I rarely encounter other players here, which makes it very easy to server jump and farm the hell out of this place. Now keep in mind that a legendary is normally a no star or a 1 star. I have seen it as a 2 stars once or twice, but I have never seen it as a 3 stars. But who knows, maybe it's a rare spawn. Let's move on to the EXCELCIOR model house. I know this is not in Savage Divide, it's in the Mire, but I have recently farmed it a lot because it's near my house and I often find legendaries here, so I decided to include it in this guide as well because it can be useful to you, especially if you go to the other locations. It's not so far off. The first legendary is this hermit crab here. It's not very common to find it as a legendary, but it does happen. But what I usually find as a legendary is the super mutant or the scorched. It depends on what's spawning here. Sometimes there are ghouls as well. And you can find Mirror Kings a few times as well. So it's a very rich place for experience and you can find up to 2 legendaries. The ninth location is at the Autumn Acre Cabin, where you can sometimes find a 3 stars animal. It often spawns wolves, for example, sometimes mole rats, but you know, I've never found a legendary mole rat here. I'm actually thankfully for that because they are low level, but this guy here drops some decent things, and as you can see there are tons of wolves, so it's also not too bad for experience and meat. If you are low on food, then this location is excellent, and you never know what you're going to find. Maybe it's a 3-star legendary with your next weapon or armor piece. And don't mind me, I got an insult pot just right here. It's quite embarrassing. If you head a little bit to the south into the Middle Mountain Cabins, you can find a legendary up to 3 stars. Now the trick here is to find a spot with scorpions. I'm not quite sure if you can find legendaries with the honeybees or the bears. They also spawn in here, but I haven't found a single one to be legendary. But I found the scorpions 3 times, and one of these it was a 3 stars. But in this run it was just a normal legendary with no stars at all, but I know for a matter of fact that it can be a 3 stars. I've seen it before. Maybe you're lucky enough to get it next time you visit these cabins. The mythical Wendigo cave is a quite popular place to farm legendaries. Before the latest patches, you would be able to find the Wendigo as a legendary quite often, but lately I haven't found him as a legendary not even once. However, I found something else. One of these Mirlo Kings can be a legendary up to 3 stars as well. And that's quite interesting because he can drop a really nice stuff. He is high level, and as you can see, he can be a 3 stars. I found him as a 1 star before, but I heard that normally he is a 3 stars from other people, of course. So, next time you visit this cave, don't go straight for the Wendigo, just look around for the Mirlo Kings, and particularly in this room, he is usually a legendary. And as you could see, the loot can be really good. Have you ever seen a Horde Savage Divide event? I normally see a lot of them, and until recently I rarely take part of them. But I found out that you can find a 3 stars quite often. Now, they are part of the hordes and they're not that high level normally, but it's still worth a shot because sometimes you can find high level enemies and that means you will get a better reward as well. Now, just keep in mind that this event is quite tricky, and when it teleports to the event, you will have to search for the horde, which is generally nearby. Next we have the event Uranium Fever, and this is probably the most famous event to farm legendaries. A lot of people take part of it as soon as it starts, and that's because you can get up to 3 legendaries with up to 3 stars. So it's a really smart and quick way to farm legendary items. However, they are normally not so good in terms of level, in terms of diversity too. Moreover, you probably won't get what you are expecting or searching for, because I often get things like swords and poles and strange weird melee weapons, and the armor, nothing special really. They are normally wooden pieces and the stats are very random too. So I would say this is a starting zone to farm legendaries, but if you are looking for really good gear, then this is not really the place. Unless you are extremely lucky and you don't mind low level gear. Now, going to the north again, you can find the event Guided Meditation if you visit the Palace of the Winding Path. Now, you can trigger this event even when it's not on, you just have to come here, and normally it starts on its own, but not always. Not sure why. Anyway, you can find a 3-star legendary super mutant at the very start of the event or at the very ending. It's not linear, there is no rule, it's quite random, but that's my experience so far. So expect a legendary to spawn either at the very start or at the very end. However, this is not a 100% chance to spawn a legendary. I've done multiple events where I didn't see a single one, but when you do, I always saw him as a 3-star, so that's pretty good because he is high level and he drops 3-star gear all the time. This one wasn't that good, but I got some nice things in the past. One Violent Night is an event that only recently has become popular, mostly because people didn't know that you could get a lot of legendaries during this event. Now, the trick here is to do not play music at all. You can simply let the music box do its job, and that way the bar will progress very slowly. That will give you an increased chance to get or find more legendaries. Now, the final boss, the Wendigo, is usually a 2 or 3 star boss, but you can also find legendaries among the other ghouls and scorched. But that only depends on how long you run the event. Normally I do this with several people and they want to play music to rush the event for some reason, and that means you will only get the final Wendigo, which again is normally 2 or 3 stars, and he drops mediocre things. As you can see, his level is not that high, but this is a very nice event to farm legendaries. Especially if you are soloing it or doing it with friends, then you can simply wait the counter and do it slowly for an increased chance to find more bosses and more loot as well. The second location is probably known to you, and I have found it just last week. So while capturing this workshop here, I noticed that there is a patrol made of super mutants around towards the south road, and I usually find one of the guys to be a legendary with 2 or 3 stars. I have 7 jumped many times and it's a very high chance right now. I'm not sure why. This is such random location. There is nothing much going on here apart from the workshop, and they are located in the road. Like, they walk around. They are not always at the same place, but as you can see, it's between the workshop and the pumpkin location at the south. Now, the previous location is one of my favorite places to farm the 3-star legendary, but West Tech is still the most relevant and holds the most value for high levels in my opinion, because you can find high level super mutants almost every time, and the amount of legendaries you can find here in a single run is just ridiculous. I mean, sometimes I find up to 5 legendaries. Of course, they are not all 3 stars. Most of them are no stars or just 1 star, but still, it's incredibly good, and you can do this very fast. If you have a damage build, you can want to hit them. And besides the 1-2 legendaries you can find here in the outside parts, you can also find another 2-3 inside, and normally I can find at least 1 3-star legendary per run, which is really crazy. And that's why I think this is the best place to farm legendaries in the Savage Divide and possibly in the entire game right now. I don't think there is any other location that could challenge West Tech in terms of legendaries and experience as well, because there are dozens and dozens of super mutants here, and they are the best source of experience because they are one of the highest level enemies in the game. So keep that in mind, and if you are looking for experience as well as some legendaries, this is the perfect place to come and farm over and over and over again. There is no doubt there, at least not for me. I'm sure that you're thinking that I forgot about the legendary route at Whitespring, but that's not really the case. I did it on purpose because it is a clown fiesta most of the time. If you manage to find the ghouls alive, there is usually 1, 2, 3 or more players around. They will try to steal it from you. They will rush to kill everything before you, and unless you manage to team with them, you will probably not get much out of it. I simply hate it, and I avoid the Whitespring route as much as possible these days due to its popularity. Everyone goes there, it's great experience, you get legendaries, and everyone in the server wants to go there and farm the hell out of it. So it's really not my place. I don't think it's viable, but it's up to you to decide if it's good or not. It's your personal choice. Anyway, that's going to be everything for this video. I hope that you learned some new locations to farm legendaries in the Savage Divide, and that you can add even more locations to your usually routes, because some of them here are really precious and filled with value. So make sure to check them out. I am Marta Branco. Thank you so much for watching until this point. And if you enjoyed the content as usual, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Wow.